Hello and welcome to episode number 271. This is the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com and I'm Cornelius Fichtner. Welcome back. Today I'm going to discuss and answer a number of questions that I have received from Alicia Orricchio. They are all about Agile project management. She sent them to me pretty much out of the blue via email, and I thought, you know what? They would make a good basis for a project management podcast episode. And here is Alicia's first question. It's all about the various flavors of Agile. Here she is herself with the question.
What is the most common or widely used form of Agile?
Alicia asked this question because she realized that while Agile project management seems to be becoming synonymous with Scrum or even the CSM certification, that is not necessarily true. She also notices that in her experience, when you're looking for a project management job and they talk about Agile, they either mean Scrum or some in-house Agile methodology that they developed. So what is the most common or widely used form of Agile? Based on the results from the 8th Annual State of Agile survey from version 1, it is indeed Scrum, as you can see in this graphic here. More than 50% of their respondents said we use Scrum as our preferred Agile methodology in-house. And then there were also those that use a mix of Scrum and XP. But as you can see, Alicia also correctly identified that there is this custom hybrid. So you take a few of these various Agile methodologies and you mix them together so that it makes sense of you in your organization. Scrumban is also there. There's Kanban, we have Lean, and we also have the others that would be things like Crystal or feature-driven development. These are the minor Agile methodologies there. But obviously, Scrum is king in the Agile methodology world. Alicia's second question is this.
What types of industries are using Agile?
In the early days of Agile, the focus was on software development. You can see this clearly represented in the first few words you'll find on the Agile Manifesto website. They read, "We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and by helping others do it." But as time progressed, more and more people realized how applicable Agile was to other industries, to their industries as well. And today, you might very well say that any industry should be able to adopt Agile in one form or another. You can see this trend of Agile moving away from being IT-centric when you take a look at the website of the Agile Alliance. In particular, take a look at their annual conferences and you'll see that more and more presentations were added to the agenda every year discussing non-IT applications of Agile. Here are a few titles that you'll find. Scrum in Sales, Agile in Academics, Lessons in Agile Product Development, Agile in an Embedded Product Line Development, Rapid Product Design in the Wild, and also Agile in the Federal Space. Those are just 6 that I found there, but there are many more of these non-IT applications of Agile. I have one more example for you very close to my heart, and that is the use of Agile project management in the development of project management training materials. Now, my personal interest in Agile has grown considerably over the years. So much, in fact, that we went ahead in 2011 and 2012 and we decided to adopt Agile for all projects that we do internally. Our pilot project was the Agile PrepCast, which is our training course that prepares you for the PMI ACP exam. We used a tailored version of Scrumban to develop it. And then our second project, our second Agile project, was the Project Management PrepCast. And that's actually quite funny because the PM PrepCast prepares you for the PMP exam. So here we have a training course that prepares you for an exam where you have to show that you're knowledgeable about the more traditional, the waterfall style project management methods. And that course was in fact developed using Agile project management. It's kind of ironic. Here is Alicia's next question.
What are the success metrics of adopting Agile in the organization?
To answer this, I'm taking a slightly different approach and interpretation. There are many factors that will help ensure that the transformation of your organization to using Agile is a success. And executive sponsorship, by the way, is at the top of the list here as you are doing the transformation. But in the end, most people in your organization will answer the question, is Agile a success, by looking at whether the projects that are then being executed using Agile are a success. So to measure if we successfully transformed our organization toward using Agile, I would want to measure success on the individual project that uses Agile. This means we need metrics on the project level. In particular, I'd like to offer 3 possible metrics with which to measure success. Now, I'll stay very high level here because measuring Agile success, that's a 2 to 3 hour long presentation in itself, but here we go. So first of all, measure business goals, because we execute projects for a business reason. So we want to figure out, well, did we achieve those goals? We want to know, was the value delivered to the customer? This requires that your product owner first defines the value of each feature, of each user story that is going to be delivered. And once it is delivered, well, you can put a value, an aggregate value to all of those that were delivered. Second, you want to measure the time to market. Agile has kind of a built-in mechanism that, when it's applied correctly, should help you to deliver your products sooner. Measure how long it takes to go from idea to final product, and you'll have a number that you can compare to how you did it previously. So these two, they are really the primary measures for success. And you'll notice, more often than not, it doesn't really matter if you're using Agile or traditional project management methods. Business value, time to market, they're pretty much the same on both ends here. But since success usually includes also some subjectivity as well, I would like to add satisfaction to this, both customer satisfaction and also employee satisfaction, because in the end, it is the people who decide whether our Agile projects, our individual Agile projects, are successful. And by extension, their satisfaction has a lot to do whether Agile as a whole is successful in our organization. These are not easy to measure. Customer satisfaction can be measured via standardized post-project surveys and also seeing how many repeat customers you can create. Employee satisfaction usually only becomes obvious over time when you're looking at human resources turnover. Now, I don't want to go much deeper here, even though there are more metrics that you could apply to measure Agile project success, but these 3 here, they rise to the top for me personally. Here is Alicia's next question.
Some business groups are adopting Agile for business processes as well. Is there an Agile business method that is different from the traditional Agile software development methodologies?
Let us answer that by looking at Scrum. And here is what we find in the Scrum guide from scrum.org. They say about Scrum, Scrum is not a process or a technique for building products. Rather, it is a framework within which you can employ various processes and techniques. And then also there is Wikipedia that defines agile management or agile project management as an iterative and incremental method of managing the design and build activities for engineering, information technology, and new product or service development projects in a highly flexible and interactive manner. On a very basic level, you could say that agile project management is an umbrella term for many lightweight techniques, methods, and approaches that people are using. I know it's not 100% correct, but it's sufficient for the context of our discussion and Alicia's question here. So, to repeat the question, is there an agile business method that is different from the traditional agile software development methodologies? Well, I must admit I didn't know before Alicia asked, so I went ahead and I did some research into this, and what I have found is that there are indeed methods out there that realize the need for adapting agile frameworks for business. And here are three by name that I have found: Agile Lean Six Sigma, Agile Business Process Management, and also Agile Business Modeling. You can probably find many more out there, and often these are proprietary methods that are tied to a specific software application. These may or may not work for your organization. To me, Agile is a framework that you're going to tailor. You're going to tailor it to your business needs. It's not focused on a specific industry, nor on a specific part of your organization, as in, Agile only works for software development. Instead, Agile is flexible. It can be adapted. Tailoring worked for us, and tailoring will work for others as well. And Alicia's final question is all about how to gain Agile experience.
How do you obtain hands-on experience in Agile PM if you are not currently working for an organization that uses Agile?
She asked this question because she would like to augment her skills so that she could apply for positions that are using Agile, especially as she works in the digital services industry and Agile is becoming more common and required here. My first thought here is that gaining experience in Agile is really up to you. Unless your organization already has an Agile initiative and is pushing it out, Agile isn't simply coming your way on its own. You have to actively do something in order to gain Agile experience. And you also need to change your mindset, because at first, frankly, I wasn't quite sure whether Agile would work for our organization here. But the more I looked into it, learned about it, and thought about it, the more I realized what a flexible and adaptable thing it is. But for a project manager, it also means that our roles are changing. Mike Kottmeyer said the following. He said, "An agile approach requires a different project management mindset. Rather than a command and control taskmaster, an agile leader needs to be more of a coach who can work through changes. In an agile project, we often are not figuring out the next feature to build until we've already built some of the product. We might have some idea, but we don't know exactly. As such, agile-minded project managers must work with the team and stakeholders to foster shared understanding of the expected return on investment. They must also help the team quickly identify its tasks to ensure business outcomes are being realized." And then here are also 3 ideas regarding how to gain all of this experience. First of all, if your company has Agile projects, well, ask to join an Agile project. If they don't use Agile techniques yet, well, simply begin using Agile techniques on your own projects in a small way. For example, my colleague Josh Nankivil, he implemented a Kanban board on one of his projects from his previous employer. At the beginning, his team thought he had gone off the deep end, but they came around pretty quickly. And please Don't tell me, well, I'm not allowed to use Agile on my projects. For heaven's sake, you're the project manager. So manage the project. Use what works for your project. Do a daily stand-up. Begin by using Agile techniques and by becoming more flexible. You have more power over what you do and how you do your projects than you think. And then, of course, if your management is open to it, go ahead and make a recommendation to apply Agile on a pilot project. And then, of course, you want to get some training under your belt as well. Yes, I know Alicia's question was about hands-on experience, but training, it's par for the course. You need to understand the theory. You need to understand the background of Agile as well. So here is how I did it myself. I am a PMP. I have to earn PDUs. Well, guess what? I made Agile a PDU goal. So instead of just going to generic project management meetings and trainings and presentations, I focused on Agile project management. I earned my PDUs and I learned about Agile at the same time. And this is, by the way, also how I became a certified Scrum Master myself. Because I have this podcast here, guess what? I listen to other people's podcasts as well. There are many out there about Agile. They're focused a little bit, of course, on Agile software development, but you get the idea. You can, begin to understand how people are doing things, and you can learn a lot just by listening to all of the podcasts out there. One thing that we did in our organization here, I told you we converted over to using Agile. And I actually used this as training for myself. First of all, we hired an Agile coach, somebody who helped us to create the various Agile events that needed to happen during the projects, develop the Agile artifacts that we need to create for our projects, and also stuck with us through the projects and helped us understand how we need to do this, how we need to move forward. And at the same time, this coach also helped us tailor the Agile frameworks that are out there and tailor it for our organization so that it would make sense internally for us to use it. And frankly, that on its own, just the tailoring, the taking the generic vanilla Scrum that we had out there and Kanban that was out there and taking it and creating our own Scrumban internally, that was an enormous boost for my personal understanding of how Agile works. And lastly, I also recommend sharing. You want to give back. It's something that I do here through the podcast. So go ahead, write, speak, and show when it comes to Agile. Write about Agile, write a case study maybe about your first project. Take that case study and turn it into a presentation. Go to your local PMI chapter, give that presentation there. If a hiring manager sees that you have done this, they will understand that you get Agile. And of course, you also want to show that you have been working in Agile environment more towards your colleagues at work. So if you're the only one using these methodologies, show them to your colleagues. Explain how you have used Agile on your projects and give back to the general community there. And finally, don't forget to join Agile user groups. This does not necessarily have to be in person where you have to be there on Wednesday evening from 7 to 9 p.m. and have a dinner meeting. It could also be a LinkedIn user group. I'm a member of many LinkedIn Agile groups, and the discussions there, they are excellent. You learn a lot, even if you're just lurking in the background and reading the messages that come in. Well, and that's it for today. Those were the questions on Agile from Alicia or Riccio. Thank you very much for watching. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. And if you are a project manager who wants to become PMI ACP certified, then the easiest way to do so is with our sister podcast here, the Agile PrepCast, and study for the exam by watching the in-depth exam prep video training from agileprepcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please do tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this: we will either find a way or make one. Until next time.